Hello, welcome to Dreaming Big, Working Hard. I am your host, David Alvarez. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Today, I have a really special guest. I have the opportunity to have someone who I've been wanting to have as a guest, and I'm really honored that he's joining us. Macedonio Arteaga is our special guest today. I've known Macedonio for about 30 years now, quite some time when I was a teenager, and we'll get into that history a little bit, but it's really an honor to have him. He's been working with young people at least since I've known him for the last 30 years. He's really passionate about our youth, about empowering our youth, about working with our youth in non-traditional ways that can help uplift them. And he's been doing that with many, many kids throughout San Diego County over the years. He's an artist, he's a poet, he's a performer. He's always a good time, and conversation I know today will be a good time as well. So it's my honor to welcome today's podcast, and thank you for joining us, Macedonio Arteaga. Thanks for being here, Mace.
Thank you, David. I didn't know your voice sounded so good. I don't know what they're doing, but they're making you sound really good here. I like
Hope
it.
so.
Yeah.
So is this your first podcast?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I maybe my 6th or 7th.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm not that special. Then.
No, I'm sorry.
So why
I could lie and say it's my first.
why have
though.
people invited you to the podcast? What's your story?
I'm trying to remember. I think the last podcast I did was with the Prebis Foundation.
Okay.
And the reason they had invited me to that one, but I think they're all the same, right? I think, as you were saying, I don't know why I'm getting emotional right now, just thinking of being here with you because of our history and the fact that we're still alive.
Right.
Just last week, a really good friend of mine passed away from 51 years old of a heart attack. So I'm still kind of like in that stage where, well, I'm really grateful, but just kind of knowing like, man,
The clock is ticking.
the clock's always, it started ticking the moment we came out of the womb, But I think, first of all, I'm honored that people want to hear me talk. And it's because of what you were saying, David, my commitment I never thought it was a commitment. It was just something that we did.
Mhm.
Right. And now as I'm getting older, I keep hearing that word like commitment. I'm like, wait, I never really thought about that. I committed to helping young people or working in the community. It was just something that we do. And it was embedded in us. My parents embedded it in me. My college professors embedded it in me. And, we just wake up in the morning and this is what we do. It's not something we really think about.
It's interesting you say that because I obviously get asked the question, why did you get into politics? And it's sometimes difficult to answer that because certainly I didn't study for politics. I didn't take any even political science classes in college.
Yeah.
I didn't have any political mentors whatsoever. I mean, in Barrio Logan, you never saw politicians in that community. So it's easy to tell how I got to it, but it's hard to say like what exactly brought you to it. And I think you're saying something that really is as you always do, resonates with me, which is there's a commitment to something because of all the things we've been blessed with. It's certainly all the sacrifices. In my case, I always talk about my parents' immigrant story. They went through all that for a purpose, certainly for themselves, but mainly for their kids. And so that kind of is something I always think about. And so I have a commitment to the community, and that's why I do the work I do. But it's great that you share that because I connect with that. Tell us more about what that is. I mean, I've known you in different capacities and roles as recently as last year. Now you're retired officially.
Sort of,
But
yes.
Sort of, well, from your full-time
Yes.
job, contractual job.
Yeah.
You were working in our schools, and gosh, I now have a high schooler, and you actually happened to, your last year was her first year of high school at the same high school. So that was kind of cool. So you worked with kids in schools, you worked with kids outside of the community. You've, again, done performances, theater, art, all sorts of spaces, but always in empowerment of the community through the use of non-traditional sources of healing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah. And it's weird to think that theater especially the theater that we specifically do, is a non-traditional way of healing because it's specific, right? Because we're not doing like, you know, this play called Hair, or we're not doing, you know, classics. And you probably know this, but still the majority of the plays performed at local high schools are written by white males. Like 90% are white males, not even the white female in there. It's still written by white males. Yeah. So when we do our brand of comedy, for one, and there's stories from our community, and then we put our own spin to it, we make them funny, but there's a teaching behind them. We just were in Modesto, maybe about 2 weeks ago. We were in Modesto. We performed there in the nicest theater they have there. Beautiful space. We had a great crowd. I always ask this, and now technology, we need to get better at it. We're gonna have like a little survey that you just put your phone up and you answer it, because
the QR code.
That fancy word QR code. My students are the ones that are still teaching me about technology. QR code. Because I said, how many of you it's your first time seeing Chicana, the indigenous theater? And 90% of the people raise their hand. And I'm like, well, where did you see Chicano theater? Like, oh, we saw you perform at San Diego State, or we saw you at UCC, or we saw you in Arizona when we were students in Arizona State. And it's like, it's really sad, David, that in the year 2025, I'm asking a question I started asking 30 years ago.
It's the same answer.
It's the same answer.
Yeah. It was interesting because I was just having a conversation with some students earlier about being first-generation students. I was a first-generation student almost 30 years ago, and the same things that I struggled with, they're still struggling with.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't changed. Yeah. It's really deceiving. For some reason, people think that you know, there's change and things are changing, and they're not. Actually, our numbers are even lower now for males, for Chicano males are lower now than ever in the history of, you know, but nobody really talks about that, in the sense like we're going backwards. So our brand of comedy brings up issues like that, subtle, because I think you know as well as I do that humor is a way to the heart, you know, because you can tackle any issue, but when you're laughing, it's different. It's different than you laughing about something, a topic, instead of me lecturing you. Nobody listens to lectures,
right?
You know, and so a lot of the stuff that we have written, it's actually, they were workshops that we did years ago with students. We spent the whole summer and we taught them how to write. They would come up with stuff, and then we rewrote the stuff, right? We've published our own book. We've rewritten the stuff. We perform it all over the country. We're starting to write new material now.
I want to ask you about that iterative process, because most people don't know what it takes to put something together, a performance. But before I ask you about that, I want to ask you, I didn't even get a chance to allow you to introduce, it's Teatroezcalli.
Oh, yes,
we're talking about. So tell me about Teatroezcalli, how it got started, and where you are today.
So when I was in junior college, I went to see a group called Culture Clash. Remember Culture Clash?
That's what got me into theater.
Yeah. And I went to UCSD. I was at Mesa College. I went to UCC to watch them, and I was mesmerized, David. Like I don't even think I took a breath. You know what I mean? I never blinked. I was mesmerized. I'd never seen anything like that. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do that one day. Right. And, I mean, I didn't know how to write skits. I didn't know how to do, I mean, I was funny. I've always been funny because my father, I'm literally a reflection of my dad, one of my uncles, my favorite uncle, who, you know, they taught me to be funny. Everything was humor, you know, and, I'll tell you a story about my dad at the end. About he passed away a couple years ago, and his last line was hilarious, you know, and the last words were really, well, I'll tell you now, this is how humor came to me through my dad. When he was passing away, I knew he was going to pass away that night. They already told us, you know, and I'm walking out the door, and he's like, hijo. And I turn and I stop and I said, ¿Qué papi? He goes, bañate, cabrón. you know.
Last words.
With his last words,
Shower.
take a shower, you little beep. Yeah, I won't cuss on this podcast because I have a tendency to drop some words every now and then. But yeah, those are his last words. Literally, those are the last words that my father said to me. So that tells you what kind of man he was.
Mhm.
Even at getting ready to cross over, he was still funny.
Yeah.
You know, and if I have an opportunity, I'm going to be the same way because we don't know how we're going to die. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm laying on some bed, I'm just going to be cracking jokes the whole time because, you know, it is what it is,
Yeah.
you know?
So you inherited that,
I inherited it.
but you never really, it's sort of like, I always say this, you don't see it, you can't be it. So until you saw it
Wow.
with Culture Clash, then you realize maybe this is something I can do. Is that when it really, or were you doing like little performances in the clubs at the high schools? I know there's like drama clubs and that.
No.
So you didn't do
No.
that.
Well, actually, in high school, I did. We had a talent show one year when I was in high school, and I was a terrible student. I never passed a math class in high school. I never read a book in high school, but they had the talent show club, whatever, the talent show for the whole school. A friend of mine, we did a Cheech and Chong spoof, you know. So he was Sancho and I was Pancho, which is like, God, I'm so embarrassed to talk about it. So he had a shirt, it said Sancho pointing to me, and I had a shirt that said Pancho, and it was pointing to him. So nobody really knew who was Sancho or Pancho, but it was like this Cheech and Chong thing, and I just like kind of came up with the sketch, you know, and the students loved it. Like I would go into some of my classrooms and I would see like kids wrote on the desk or like Sancho loves Pancho, and it was like we became like little celebrities on campus.
Okay.
And then after that, it was like I stopped doing it because I graduated or I left high school. I wouldn't say I graduated. They got
You moved on.
They got rid of me. So I knew it was in me, right? But it was Culture Clash, and I watched them, and I was like mesmerized. And then I got some students together. My wife, who's still my wife to this day, Alicia. I said, "Hey, let's start our own comedy troupe." She's like, "What the hell? What are we gonna do?" Like, let's just do it. Her and I went out to dinner one night. I wish I still had these napkins, David. We wrote 4 sketches on napkins when we ate. I was like, "Oh, I have an idea." And she had a pen and we took napkins and I wrote them on there. We still perform those skits today. We still perform them.
Wow.
I wish we had those napkins.
Yeah.
You know, getting the chills right now. And that's how we started. We just started writing sketches, like watching Saturday Night Live. But we made these like Chicano versions of what we saw.
So have you ever taken any actual like lessons in any of this, whether it's writing or no, you just go with the flow?
I just figured it can't be that hard, you know.
Yeah.
I'm already crazy, so I just write it on paper. And I did take a class with Jorge Huerta at UCSD,
Okay.
but we're already a performing group.
Yeah.
We already had been performing,
refining. Yeah.
So he actually, when we published our book, he went over all the octos with me, and then he gave me some notes. He helped refine it so the book was clean and ready, and I just made some changes to some of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did take one, but it was later in the ball game.
Sure.
Yeah.
And when was your first performance that you can remember?
I know exactly what it was. It was the Chicano Latino Youth Leadership camp here at San Diego State. My friend Joe Lara and all the founders of Ezcalli started like a camp here at San Diego State for students. And they asked us to perform, and we're like, you know, God, are kids even gonna laugh? Or this is probably the last time we'll be performing. You know?
What year was that?
Geez, I want to say 94.
Okay.
96.
96. Okay.
96. 96. 98? I don't know. It's been about 30 years now, so I'm terrible at math.
Yeah.
What is 30 years back from
It was
today?
95. Yeah.
95, 96, around there.
Yeah.
I still remember the first skit we ever did. We'll never perform again. It was so stupid. it was a Juan Gabriel song that we came out to. My friend got dumped by some girl, and then the Juan Gabriel song, the Hasta que te conocí.
Mhm.
Vi la vida con dolor.
Uh-huh.
And my friend starts crying. I have no idea what that skill was about.
I bet you that'd be funny again. You say you won't do it again, but Juan Gabriel is back in vogue.
I don't know. We'll never do that again. I don't even understand the skit.
Okay.
I don't even know what happened, and my dad was there. And of course, my dad, just being supportive, laughed. I think he was just being nice. But some of those first sketches, we still do them today.
Mm-hmm.
We still do them.
What is your goal with the performances that you do through Teatroezcalli? What's the message that you hope that gets taken away? Has that evolved over the course of time? Was it like a very I'll just put it this way, an activist message at the beginning? Now it's more of a personal reflection message, because you've now done a lot of work in the restorative work and mental health, and that also mental health. Now people can talk about it, not the way we, back in the day we couldn't. So what has sort of changed and evolved, or what is your takeaway now that you want to leave when people come and watch your show, especially for the young people?
I don't think it's changed too much, because again, society hasn't changed at all.
Mm.
You're making me think about something. We did the Mañanitas breakfast, the big one at the Civic Center. Yeah, we performed there, and it was the first time that we ever performed a skit that wasn't written by us.
Mm.
We did a Luis Valdez acto.
Mm-hmm.
They asked us, "Can you do this Luis Valdez acto?" We're like, "Yeah, we've never done anything." And one of the reasons, not because we don't want to do Luis Valdez or Culture Clash, we feel it's important for, to write our own material. There's so many stories out there. Yeah, Luis Valdez was great. Culture Clash, there's women there's a Chicana theater group that's written some stuff, and those actos are all really important. But it's also really important that we write new material. We write stuff. And one of our things was like, we're not going to do, Luis Valdez or Culture Clash or the Teatro Chicana stuff. We're going to write our own stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not out of disrespect to them. It's actually out of respect from being inspired for them to write. So Luis Valdez said something really interesting because, he was at the performance. We did his acto. And
just so that people know, Luis Valdez, Teatro Campesino.
Yes,
there's a lot of history there with the movement of farm workers. And
thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, he's literally the founder of what we call today, Chicanx Theater. He's the founder of it, right? And he said something, he's like, about when we performed the acto, he was like, watching Teatroezcalli perform this, I wrote this 50 years ago, and the skit is still relevant. Mm-hmm. Nothing has changed. And this is Luis Valdez talking. Mm-hmm. He did La Bamba. Those of you who have seen La Bamba, he directed that, and he's directed a couple of big Zoot Suit, the first Broadway play ever performed, written by a Mexican-American. Mm-hmm. Now there's a second one, Josefina Lopez, Real Woman Has Curves, which also is a good friend of ours. But I don't think the message has changed too much. It's still activism. There is a little bit more, maybe throw a little bit of some mental health stuff in there for people to be more conscious of it. But it hasn't changed too much.
Was it at the beginning with you and Alicia, as you drew up those first sketches on the napkins, about you wanting people to see themselves in the arts and in theater?
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. That's 100% it. And like I said, we just did a Modesto, and it's like 90% of those people don't see themselves on stage. Mm-hmm. And we had a guy that drove, I don't know how far Modesto is from San Francisco, maybe like an hour, a couple. Mm-hmm. He drove all the way down to watch us perform, and he watched us here in San Diego. He went to school here. He goes, "Masa, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I was crying the whole time." And I said, "Why, dude? We're a comedy troupe. You're not supposed to be crying."
It's sad to see you up there.
Yeah, that's pretty depressing. No, he was like, it was a good cry. He goes, but all the issues that we just mentioned, that he has to drive 2 hours to see us because it's nowhere to be seen.
To see himself reflected.
To see reflected on stage. And David, I shouldn't be here telling you that we're a freaking novelty, bro.
Mhm.
That I shouldn't be saying that.
Yeah.
But if we like stopped right now, where are you gonna see something like us?
Yeah, nowhere.
You're not.
Yeah. I mean, luckily for those of us that live here in the border region, if you want to see authentic, that's Mexican, but it's a different experience.
It's a different experience.
And Chicano experience, Latino experience for sure. I want to ask you about the process because I've never written, but you talked about either groups that you get together, workshopping, and like tell us about what it takes to write something and what is that iterative process like?
I remember when you ran for the first time, we did a little show. I think we included you in that. We wrote some stuff about you. Remember that?
Yeah.
So for example, okay, this is an example. And I don't say this is a good example anymore because I don't know if it's a good example. This is just an example. And when people say, oh, it's a good example, in my head, I'm always like, is it really? But anyway, sorry. I wanted to make that clear. Here is an example, Mr. Alvarez. So the example right now, we're seeing all these ICE raids and what's happening in our community. So boom, we have a topic now, ICE. Now, you could just off the top of my head, I'm just literally writing it right now. ICE agents come out dancing to Vanilla Ice, 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 baby. You know what I mean? And they're dressed in the ICE uniforms. And I'm just writing it right now as we speak, right?
Yeah.
It's already funny, right? And then they come out and they all start talking about, we are not, this is kind of a cool idea. Now I really do think this is a cool idea. They come out after they dance and they're like, well, we're not allowed to, according to the Constitution, we're not allowed to stereotype or what's the word I'm looking for?
To discriminate
or stereotype,
or racially profile.
Racially profile, right?
Words, but apparently you can't.
Yeah, so here's the kicker, right? They come out after they're done. Well, we're ICE agents and we're not allowed to do this according to our Constitution. And now Uncle Sam comes out and he's like, actually, you are allowed to do that now. Like literally a guy dressed up as Uncle Sam, and they're like, oh, well, actually, we are allowed to do that now, and so see, now you're taking a very serious topic that's really impacting all our communities of color, whether you're Asian or Latino or Afro-Latino. It's impacting our communities, right? And so now, as you and I are talking, and we're going to perform this, and it's live here, folks. We're writing it right here. Now we would say, well, we are allowed to discriminate. You want to also think you want to take this to the extreme, because comedy is an extreme of something, right? So now Uncle Sam came to life, or it could be Abraham Lincoln or whatever. So you look for those archetypes. How do you say the word? Archetypes?
Archetypes. I would not say Abraham Lincoln though, because he was more of a reformer.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, dude, don't get crazy. Don't get crazy with me, dude. I'm just saying, it could be Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam would be good. So now we're like, oh, we are allowed to, discriminate or go based on the color of your skin. And so then you just show images of like the most racist images you could think of, like a Mexican with a sombrero. And they're like, well, if they're carrying a pot of beans, we need to stop them, right? Because we all carry pots of beans. Yes. I have one.
To the carne asada.
Yeah, I have a pot of beans outside. And if they're, you just go on the stereotypes that are so stupid. So you always have to think in the extremes, right? The extreme of comedy. And then you start fleshing out the sketch. And then like usually what happens, I would say I'm like the main writer, like right now, right? I just literally wrote a skit in front of you. Then I'll bring it to the group and I say, oh, this is what I started working on.
So they're like, instead of Uncle Sam, why don't you do?
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll come up with their own ideas and like, oh, I could play this. Oh, what about this? I'm like, oh, I love it. No, that's really stupid. Shut up. You know what I mean? So we start figuring out, and then it starts to grow.
Yeah.
And we create it. So ultimately, it's still co-created. I don't want to give myself all the credit, but the ideas do come from my brain. My wife has written some really She has a really powerful octo about I don't think you've seen it because it's fairly new. She's at Chicano Park, and she's a chola, right? And then she's talking to the Virgen de Guadalupe mural,
Yep.
and the Pachuca comes to life. It's the older generation Pachuca, and she starts talking to her about the ice raids, and they took her friend on the trolley, but it's in a different language because now you're talking about Pachuca slang, and then you have like a Chicana little homegirl from the barrio slang, but it makes her very human.
Right.
But you're also learning the history. Maybe like she's in a zoot suit. The woman, well, why is she wearing a zoot suit? So now you could do your own homework. Oh, that's a Pachuca. And she's talking to Cholita and what's happening in the community. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, and the role, the cultural iconic role of the Virgen de Guadalupe.
That's another huge. It's a big image.
History there,
right? Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that up. But I wanted to ask you about the content, because now we're living in a world where a foundation who may want to fund some of the work that you do is being threatened for their 501c3 nonprofit status from the federal government because they're funding something that is talking about ICE.
Yeah.
Right? Like, could you even write that skit? I don't know, in a day like, times like we are in today, which is unheard of and unbelievable that we're even asking that question. But
well, can I? Yes. And are we going to do it in San Diego? Yes. It's already done. We literally created it right here. So we're not going to stop out of fear, and yes, some people may not like it, but the majority of the people that are coming to watch us but there will be, I have to, my world, or me as an individual besides the theater group, I'm in a broader community now. We're larger foundations. I'm sitting at the table with some of the biggest funders in the country, not just San Diego, right? I'm sitting with people, that are conservative. And yeah, some of them in the past came to see us perform, and there was one, I won't say who it was. They were supposed to give us $50,000. They came to our show, and they're like, we're not going to give you a penny, and I was like, why? He's like, well, we don't like the way you portrayed this character. And it was long story short, it was a white girl, like one of those, like, oh my God, like people of the color. I'm like so scared of them, and but after a year, I met with this person again, and Trump got elected that first term, and they saw like what was happening in America for the first time, and they called to meet with me again, and they gave us the $50,000 because, like, well, it's weird to say that everything has its duality, right? And having this administration, it's kind of helped other people see what we grow up with.
The realities
that we grew up as brown and black people in this country.
You certainly have seen people become much more aware, and conscientious about it. And I think people are genuinely trying to find how they can be a part of the solution that maybe they thought of the problems that perhaps existed. So I would agree with you there. But as you said, like when you started, not a lot has changed either, right? So there's so much more to be done. So I want to ask you about, obviously, Teatroezcalli continues, the performances, all of that. What's something else that you personally now, with all the time you have in retirement, want to accomplish? What is like a legacy you want to leave? Because now I'm now in my 40s, and now I sort of start thinking a little bit about that. I'm sure you now think about what do you want to leave as a lasting legacy, not for yourself, but at least the way I see it is for the community, so that it can be better with whatever we leave. Where are you going, either with Teatroezcalli or you yourself with other work that you want to do?
Well, with the theater part, I definitely want to pass it down to the next generation. We have trained a lot of young people that perform. Actually, when we went to Modesto, one of the young people that learned from us from high school, he performed with us. He drove over from, he's at some college up there, the Slugs, the one that has the Slugs.
UC Santa Cruz.
Yeah, he drove over and performed with us. We have another young person who's in New York, and sometimes the last couple years, we've actually done more shows out of San Diego than we have. We haven't really done anything in San Diego. We're performing outside.
No, I haven't seen you in San Diego
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah, we've flown her from New York to perform with us. And you know what, David, right now that I'm talking to you, it's so weird. Like, we get, like, they'll call us and like, yeah, this is how much. And we're getting like real money, and we can fly somebody from New York.
We can afford to fly somebody from New York.
And everybody gets their hotels. We pay for everybody's dinner. We give everybody a stipend. We never started it for that reason. It was like never crossed my mind. It was just, there's a need in our community to see ourselves on stage. And now it's like, I'm not going to tell you how much I asked for, but I asked for a good chunk of change because we deserve it. We deserve it.
To a real theater company.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And we just got, I was telling you earlier, we got a couple nice little grants from California Arts Council. We've been getting grants for a while. We got another one. We want to start teaching the next generation, even though we've been doing it for a while. But my legacy, as you're saying, is like, I want to say maybe 3 years from now, I want to be sitting in the audience and watching the next generation perform our skits. Yeah, that's good. It's making me cry through. Damn. Yeah, because I'm 57, David. I had cancer 2 years ago.
Right.
You know, and it's like, my wife's like, well, if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I'm at the point where it's like, no, it kind of has to happen. You know? I mean, it's like people like that drove from San Francisco to come watch us. And there was the few people that seen Chicano theater, they only had seen us. You know? So it's like, no, we have to pass this on. We have to give it to the next generation.
It can't end with you, for sure.
It can't end with me.
It's been too important to the community in so many ways. And man, now generations, they can say, of people, of families that started when there were kids like me, teenagers, when we first did this, to now we have our own kids. We want them to experience this because, as you said, their life experiences still are very similar, and they still don't see themselves in the spotlight or in performances, whether it's mass media or not. It's not happening. And their stories, while perhaps someone like my daughter, who now we're college educated, she won't face the same struggles, but there's still some things that are, it's not an even playing field just yet, whether you're a woman or whether you're a person of color.
Yeah.
So there's work to be done. And so we do need your commitment and what you've built to be here for a while. So I'm glad you're thinking about that, because oftentimes there's a lot of leaders who don't think about what comes next, and we have seen plenty of those examples as well. So, do you want to at all mention something before we wrap up on anything on the rites of passage that we didn't even talk about any of the Círculo stuff at all?
Yeah.
Which I think that's certainly, I didn't mention, but when my very first job at the age of 15 was with Círculo de Hombres, with the male involvement program. With the work you were doing, that's how we met originally. And then my first job out of college doing social work case management was with the male involvement program, and we did Círculo with men in National City. So I've been around it now for a long, long time. And that's important work as well. It's can you talk just a little bit about that?
Just real briefly. So it's what I would consider rites of passage work, trying to create healthy rites of passages for young men, even older men, because the older men never went through a healthy rites of passage. So we've created a healthy one with the help of Jerry Teo and the National Compadres Network. We collaborate with the reservations here on the Manzanita Reservation. One of our elders there, Uncle Nick, he really has helped us so much to have a space where men, and now it's families, but mainly men, the rites of passage work, to have a place. And for so many men, it's the first time that they actually just talk about their feelings.
It's the first talk about
themselves. Yeah. And we just had a meeting last night. We meet once a month at the Centro Cultural de la Raza, and everybody's welcome. Or is it male identifying men? Is that the right language? I got to get the lingo down because I never know. My wife says I don't know anything about gender and sexuality. I should never talk about it. So anyway, That's another subject.
Yes.
So we meet once a month, and yesterday, we had, this is on a Thursday night from 7 to like 9:30. We had about 60 men. The circle has grown on its own now. I don't do anything to recruit guys.
Yeah. Well, and the last time I went, it was before COVID, and then obviously COVID through all of our lives.
Yeah.
And there were about 60, and it's from like 18-year-olds to, like you said, people in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Because we all come with different experiences.
And so in our indigenous way, our native way of seeing the world, we always think of 7 generations. We don't think of like 1 generation. We think of 7. And I could tell you, if something were to happen to me and I moved on to the spirit world, that work's going to continue. So there's so many men that have already grown up in it. They understand it. That's already being passed on. It's separate from the theater. That's passed on already. It's done. And it's beautiful work. And it's hard to explain it to people sometimes because they think, it's men. So what are men doing? It's like, no, we're not talking about women. We're not drinking. No one brings alcohol there. It's a complete opposite. And, it's not toxic masculinity and, all the fancy lingo. It's the complete opposite. But I wanted to end by telling you, like yesterday, like we were in circle and you hear how many men now are talking about, I'm seeing a therapist. And it's normalized in our circle now.
Yeah.
And we honor that. We're like, hey, brother, I'm glad that you're seeing a therapist. It's good. It's healthy. But 15 years ago, nobody talked about a therapist. I see a therapist, you know what I mean? And I'm not ashamed of it. We're all messed up.
Yeah. Well, 15 years ago, not only were you not talking about, but people were not seeing, men particularly were not seeing therapists, right? They thought that was a sign of weakness. And that's what Círculo is all about, right? Thank you so much for sharing that, for sharing about Teatroezcalli. Where can people find out more about Teatroezcalli? When is the next performance that you think you may be having? Where will it be? How do we get more information?
So we're old, so we need to update all of our social media stuff. And we have a young person now that we've actually hired, so he's going to start helping us. And to be honest, too, after the pandemic, obviously just completely stopped. We were actually performing in LA the night that everything was shut down.
March 20th or something.
Yes, we drove home, dude, listening to the radio, and they were saying everything. It was the creepy. I'm getting the chills. It was the creepiest feeling. Yeah. And we wondered, like, we were performing, right? There's a lot of people there, maybe about 400 people there. And nobody stayed. Like usually, like they take pictures with you and like, and it's fun. And everybody left. I was like, oh my God, were we that bad? This has never happened to us.
So they all got the message.
Yeah, they all got the message on their phones, and we had no idea, bro. And then someone's like, nah, you guys got to get out. And I was like, why is everybody rushing us? They're like, they're shutting the world down. I was like, what the hell? It was the creepiest drive home that, I don't know if any generation will experience that ever again. But so after that, I'll end here. After that, the pandemic kind of took a toll on all of us. I was diagnosed with cancer. My father died. There's other health issues within our group. One of our main actors was a cancer survivor as well. And so we're kind of getting back on our feet, and I'm excited, man. I'm ready to go. I would like to kick something off at the Centro Cultural just because it's kind of like our home base, and then start doing some more shows around San Diego, the colleges again, and here at State, UCSD. Yeah, and we'll recruit some people, and I'm gonna write that octo, dude.
Yeah,
I'll write it on the planes on my way to Europe.
That's right. You're going away for a couple of weeks. Well earned, deserved time with you and Alicia. Thank you again for being here, for sharing, the story. It's an important story to share, and for being a voice for people who, are feeling certain things that we may not know how to express them, and then we see them on stage, and it's like, oh, you identify with it and you connect with it. So
I have to say one last thing.
Yeah.
This is the first podcast I did in cussing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even we cussed at Previs Foundation?
Oh yeah.
Kind of a big deal.
Cussed it up right there, but they edited me.
They're trying to scare them to give you money. Well,
Yeah.
Again, thank you. You are on Instagram. I did verify that.
Yes.
Teatroezcalli. You can search you guys up, and hopefully your new young person will post more information.
Yes.
But we look forward to seeing the next performance, hopefully really soon. I can't wait to be there and actually take my kids who haven't had a chance to see you yet.
Yeah,
So
that'd
that'd
be
be
cool.
fantastic. Thanks, Macedonio. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. Always great to have you. Great to talk about all of this work, how we can really talk about who we are as a community through the arts, how healing can happen through different ways, how conversations need to happen in our communities and in our families, and how people in our community like Macedonio are really leading that change and being part of that conversation so that we can all feel like we belong. And in moments like these that we're living in, we all need to feel like we belong. So it's really been an honor to share with Macedonio. Please join if you're listening for the first time, join the social media handles at Alvarez SD. Follow, subscribe, all those things. Leave comments, any questions you may have. We check those up on those and get it to our guests. Once again, thank you so much for listening. This is Dreaming Big, Working Hard, and I'm David Alvarez. I appreciate you all being here.
Dreaming Big, Working Hard is hosted by California Assemblymember David Alvarez. Follow at Alvarez on Instagram for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. To learn more or get involved, visit davidalvarez.com. This podcast has been recorded in San Diego, California, and proudly produced by OLAS Media, an IVC media company.